I think it's better I lock the door, so that no one will disturb us. Dr. Soterman warned me against you, but I didn't believe him. You say nothing. Look at the screen and you'll see some interesting pictures. They were taken during our experiments here at the St. Anna Clinic. This is a resistance experiment. This woman, 30 years old, volunteered to look after a 4-month-old baby with brain injury, who screams day and night. We wanted to see what would happen to this completely normal, fairly intelligent woman if we shut her in with a child that never stopped screaming. As you see, after 12 hours, she is still quite self-possessed. Now, however, 24 hours have passed. We can see now that she is affected. Her sympathy for the sick child has been wiped out. Her feelings replaced by deep depression, which in its turn paralyzes every initiative. She has left the child to its fate. Here we can see quite clearly that the thought of ridding herself of the child has developed. But it took another 6 hours before she carried out her intention. A remarkable resistance. Unfortunately, our camera didn't manage to document the actual deed. Our technique has not been quite perfected. You would like to see more, wouldn't you? Heb jetzt mal den Kopf an. Versucht mal seinen Kopf zu bekommen. Yeah? For 7 days, this man was shut up in a cell, so constructed that he could not move his arms, legs, or head. In addition, he was deprived of all sound and was in total darkness. I know what you're going to say, Abel. You are wondering how we could get anyone to agree to such an experiment voluntarily. No trouble, I assure you. People will do anything for a little money and a square meal. These pictures are not particularly instructive, but may be of physiognomic interest. The subject was given an injection of thanatoxine, a drug that produces violent anguish. What you will see is someone subjected to unbearable agony. Here you see him just as he's given the injection. You notice that he is quite balanced and is laughing and joking. An unusually nice boy, incidentally. He was a student of political science at the university. We are now at the condition of dread, which is getting worse and worse. In a few moments, he'll commit suicide. Watch carefully, it happens without any warning. He picks up the revolver. You can't see it properly. Now you can see it. Then he puts it in his mouth. The gun is not loaded, of course. That student really did shoot himself a few days later. Although the effects of the thanatoxine had completely worn off. Your brother, Max, met with the same misfortune. By the way, he was one of our best assistants. He was really interested in our experiments. He wanted to try out the thanatoxine. I advised him not to, but he insisted. His fiancée also helped us quite a bit. They were very attached to each other and lived for a time in one of the apartments that you yourself. This is one of our most recent and interesting experiments. The subjects are administered carefully controlled doses of Capta Blue, a virtually odorless gas. Initially, the gas plays tricks with the behavioral centers, throwing the entire emotional balance out of kilter. The subjects are stripped of their social defenses, lose their inhibitions, teeter madly between quickly changing moods which possess them. Their reactions are so farcical at times one can hardly keep from laughing. Of course, repeated exposure to Capta Blue can cause some permanent damage. Perhaps you are wondering what my intentions were with you and Manuela, placing you in one of our experiment rooms. Will you believe me if I tell you I had no intentions at all, except to help you? As you saw, the building behind your rooms had been vacated. Some time ago, we were forced to transfer our activities to a more out-of-the-way place. We must take great care. Besides, our economic resources are limited. We are financed entirely by private means. I'm not a monster, Abel. What you have seen are the first faltering steps of a necessary and logical development. I know you have told Inspector Bauer of your experiences. I also know that justice, represented by the plodding inspector, has begun to move, slow and creaking. He'll be here soon with his police and his rusty guns. But in a few moments, I'll bite on this cyanide capsule. I did consider burning the archives and destroying the results of our work, but it seemed too melodramatic. The law will confiscate our results and then file them. In a few years, science will ask for the documents and will continue our experiments on a gigantic scale. We are ahead of our time, Abel. We are to be sacrificed. It's only logical. In a day or two, maybe even tomorrow, the national units in South Germany will attempt a revolt led by an incredible scatterbrain called Adolf Hitler. It will be a colossal fiasco. Herr Hitler lacks intellectual capacity and method. He doesn't realize what tremendous forces is about to conjure up. He will be swept away like a withered leaf the day the storm breaks. Abel, look at that picture. Look at all those people. They are incapable of a revolution. They are far too humiliated, too afraid, too downtrodden. But in 10 years, by then, the 10-year-olds will be 20. The 15-year-olds will be 25. To the hatred inherited from their parents, they will add their own idealism and impatience. Someone will step forward and put their unspoken feelings into words. Someone will promise a future. Someone will make demands. Someone will talk of greatness and sacrifice. The young and inexperienced will give their courage and their faith to the tired and the uncertain. And then there will be a revolution. And our world will go down in blood and fire. In 10 years, no more. Those people will create new society, unequaled in world history. The old society, Abel, was based on extremely romantic ideas of man's goodness. It was all very complicated, since the ideas didn't match the reality. The new society will be based on a realistic assessment of man's potentials and limitations. Man is a malformation, the perversity of nature. That is where our experiments come in. We deal with the basic construction and reshape it. We set the productive forces free and control the destructive ones. We exterminate what is inferior and increase what is useful. I always liked you and Manuela. She showed an affection for me, which I hope was sincerely meant. Against my better judgment, I tried to help you. Comic, isn't it, Abel? One day you can tell all this to anyone who is willing to listen. No one will believe you. Despite the fact that anyone who makes the slightest effort can see what is waiting in the future. It's like a serpent's egg. Through the thin membranes, you can clearly discern the already perfect reptile.
Aufmachen! Polizei!